Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, plays the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. We are fresh off of a couple of frustrating runs. Give me a Lazarus Darkroom build this time, please. It's a new day. L7, D3, 7, and PX. And I'm willing to meet the game halfway, okay? Was I fair to it yesterday? At the time I thought so. Now I feel like perhaps, you know, with the benefit of hindsight, I may have overreacted to some inhospitable conditions. So if the game's willing to give me some items today, I'm willing to give the game a little bit of leverage as well. Or alternatively, we'll just keep rolling train wrecks until the end of time. I got a feeling that the item room... Yeah, really good and smart idea there. I got a feeling the item room is over here. Just because I really can't quantify it, but it's like what people call instinct. You know, I moved one room over, and I went, well, if the boss room isn't here, then it's, or the boss room, I guess I'm having a hard time putting it into words. I went 2 rooms, and then I said, well, the fact that we haven't found an item room yet probably means that the boss room is over here, in which case I'd like to go back and get the item room first, which should be over here. I guess that, it's amazing how the human brain works, because it took me longer to put that into words than it did to conceive of the idea itself. I mean, the idea was just like in your head. Plus, I could have also been wrong. So I don't think anyone was in danger of being like, wow, what NL just said was so smart. But if you were, keep in mind, it may have just been random variance that led to me appearing to be correct there. Anyway, I got a smile on my face this morning, and I'm ready to give the game some valid and valiant attempts. First, I have an anecdote for you. And this one does not come from the grocery store, but rather comes from my drive to the grocery store, and I tweeted about it. But it could happen in any city in the world. I know in every place that, you know, particularly big cities, people go like, well, Ottawa drivers, am I right? But for real, last night, driving to the grocery store, busy intersection, green light. Car at the front of the intersection, you know, the first one that would go, stops. Full stop. I know we got the D4, by the way. I'm not using it yet, but at some point, absolutely. Guess we should have killed ourselves, come back as regular Lazarus, whatever. I'm in the middle of an anecdote, Mom. Regardless. Stops at the green light. Those of you who are avid motorists will note a green light is not when you typically stop. That means go. So she stopped there. People start honking, and then the driver gets out of her car, and she walks to the car behind her. By the way, no 4-way flashers on. You know, I don't know, what else what do you call them in other parts of the world? 4-way flashers sounds like a Canadianism now that I think about it. Your hazard lights, I believe might be the term. She doesn't have those on. Instead, she's got her right signal light on, despite being in the left lane. So it's a very confusing situation. I'm 2 or 3 cars back. I see the driver get out of her car, walk to the car behind her, like knock on the window. Driver rolled it down. And then it appeared like she was asking the driver something. And I can only postulate in hindsight that this must have been directions. So anyway, everybody's changing lanes behind me in order to, you know, get in the other lane and actually go straight on this green light. No! I mean, this is a bad room. I'm not too mad about this. We'll survive. And with the D4, we basically win regardless. Even if we get a trash run, we just re-roll it. So I signal right, go into the right lane. It's a busy street. It's like a major thoroughfare. Not quite downtown, but pretty close. I go past her on the right. She gets back in her car and, like, tries to cut me off. I have to swerve into the turning lane. Now, I'll admit, I could have gone a little bit more slowly. I probably could have foreseen, maybe not that she would do exactly what she did, but be like, this driver is bad, so I should give them a wide berth. But instead I was like, you know, I'm just gonna get by her, and then that seems like the safest option. And you know, it almost led to at least getting clipped. Probably not hurt, but stunned for sure. So I have a new worst driving I've ever seen anecdote. If her car had broken down, that would have been one thing. You know, that's like my worst nightmare, is like being on the on-ramp to a highway or like being on a bridge or something like that, and then your car just turns off. But I don't know, man. I think that this driver was just like, hey, where's actually, now that I think about it, I wonder if it's the same thing. One time I was walking home, and a car pulled over to the side on another busy road and was like, hey, where's the casino? And I was like, oh, it's that way. Just go up there, turn right again. You can't miss it. And they were like, thank you. I wonder if it's the same thing, because they were kind of turning into the same neighborhood. I wonder if they were like, hey, is the casino over there? I'm telling you, that casino's a driving hazard, man. Everybody's got to go to the casino and put 50 bucks on the roulette table so they can afford a GPS or at least you know, a smartphone so that they can figure out how to get to the casino in the future. It's like an incremental game or something like that. Alright, we didn't get a deal with the devil, truth be told. Didn't really deserve one. Took damage in a way we shouldn't have. I'm going to re-roll the whole run. It's interesting. We have Midas Touch. Damage remains the same. Not really the big coup I was hoping for here, but that's okay. So I got two game plans here. I got a plan A and a plan B. Plan A, don't take damage, get a deal with the devil. Use that to bolster yourself to a victory. Plan B, if we take damage, accidentally, we will leverage our HP to walk into enemies, gain as much money as possible, be able to buy extra battery charges for rerolls, or alternatively, just a good item on the shop. I'll commit to the, you know, reroll aesthetic. That's my life, dude. Zane core. But I also am in very much in not say in need, but very desirous. Oh, dude, take it right away. And I think we'll take both, just because again, it's more items to reroll, even if we don't immediately use it. And actually, I know our stats are kind of bad right now. Kind of tempted to just die and then come back as Dark Lazarus with a reroll active, but I don't know. A little spooky. That was not a very smart decision on my part. Like, I want to die and then reroll the run, I think, is where I'm at right now. This seems bad, but I'm actually very happy with the way it's going. This is not the same kind of, like, trash fire that we had on the previous runs. It might be if we didn't have the D4, but... I mean, what if we replaced the D4 with Mom's Knife, or Brimstone, or Polyphemus, or Ipecac, or, you know, Proptosis? You could play this game all day. There's no shame in being saved by one item in Isaac. It happens all the time. You can be doomed by one item... Didn't mean to pick that up. And you can be saved by one item. Just not doing the reroll yet, because I kind of like where we're at temporarily. We should have gotten into that room. Oh well. 36% chance of the deal with the devil. We're hoping not to get it, weirdly enough. Bizarrely enough. You know what? I am a fool and have ruined Whore of Babylon. Let's reroll the run. So we got our first Guppy item. 2 speed upgrades? No, that one's a power pill. Pheromones and bad gas. Stats still basically the same, and we can no longer fly, but it's okay. Part of like, there's 2 different ways to rock the D4, right? You reroll yourself into a permutation you're happy with, or you reroll yourself as many times as possible to try to like get those transformations, and they all lead to the same end. Not really interested, honestly. So that's my driving anecdote for today. You know, we got plane anecdotes, grocery anecdotes, driving anecdotes, etc., etc. I have no other anecdote for you. I'm anecdoteless. I'm hoping. So here's the thing, like, tomorrow's my day off. My wife is still in Japan until Wednesday. So your boy is probably just gonna work. I know, pour one out. He's so dedicated. It's not really like that. I'm mostly just joking, but this room is freaking me out, man. Dude, that's financially, that's a great situation there. So I think, like, it's gonna be an anecdoteless week. Like, someone better moon the entire class at my adult Java class tonight. Otherwise, like, I don't know. I'm going to be recycling anecdotes from, like, the year 2003. I can't even remember my own anecdotes from the year 2003, to be honest with you. Like, trying to think about what was even the year 2003. The year 2003 was the year I started... Well, actually, I started high school in the year 2002. I know that's like, whoa. Okay, Grandpa. Many of the people watching this... Well, probably like 30% of the people watching this, if I had to guess, were not alive in the year 2002. And I gotta tell you, I mean, I feel for you, to some extent. I mean, you're probably gonna outlive me by like at least 15 years, just based on, you know, the simplest heuristic you could apply there. But still... We should have popped the Empress here, because we're going to take the Sun card to the next floor. You know, I feel for you. The 2000s, it was a simpler time. And I know you're probably saying, NL, it was a simpler time because you know, were free from the responsibilities of adult life because you were in the 9th grade. Yeah, now that you mention that in such erudite fashion, I would agree that you are probably correct. Early 2000s was a very harrowing time for a lot of people, but... When you were a 9th grader, it wasn't so bad. Mostly just went to class, went home. Played way too much like Madden on the PlayStation 2, and then lived my life. Hey. So, let's replant the idea in our mind. Dark room. We want to go to the dark room. The sun. Library. I'm actually tempted. I know, like... We have the D4, but I foolishly did take the car battery, which I'm just worried that it would lead to a doubled sort of reroll situation where we would breakfast ourselves twice as fast. But, who knows? As long as it counts the items from the reroll, we might also guppy ourselves twice as fast. What was your favorite year in high school? You know, we used to have 5 years of high school. Anyone from my generation that's Canadian, or at least from Ontario, growing up. Oh, the double cohort. You better work hard in school. You got to compete with the double cohort. Back then, it was like, you know, 1 year, and I think it was 2003. People in grade 13 are going to be applying for college, and people in grade 12 are going to be applying for college, too. So you got twice as much competition. Yes, mother. I don't see the Guppy transformation yet, though. So it was like, it was something my parents warned me about like 5 years in advance, basically. They're like, make sure you work hard because you're going to be dealing with the after effects of the double cohort. And then, you know, I just looked at my mom, and I traveled back through time, and I said, Mom, my degree's not going to matter anyway. Anyway. Well, that's not necessarily true. You know, in the same way that YouTubers and Twitch streamers who don't have a backup plan for when/if this industry inevitably fails are just like, I'll just move into PR. And all the people who have dedicated, you know, their lives to working in PR are like, yeah, it's just that easy. You got it. Sure, we'll take you. Not to say they don't have transferable skills, but I am also in denial where I'm like, if YouTube and Twitch just goes wrong, at least I have my undergrad. I can tick off the box on monster.com. Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, my favorite year, I gotta say, is gotta be 12th grade. You know, I was 16 at the outset of 12th grade, able to drive, get a little bit more independence, drive to your friend's house and hang out. You know, we didn't live in a major city, so it was like a 20-minute drive to get to your friend's house, but, you know, it was good stuff. 9th grade, when you lived in, like, the country, a little bit of a bummer, to be honest with you. I don't know, if you're in this boat right now, all I want you to know is that things get better, alright? Speed up. But I remember, like, in 9th and 10th grade, my parents were like, you know, are you okay? You're not hanging out with your friends very much. And I was like, well, I can't drive. And they're like, well, we moved to this neighborhood, so, like, maybe you could hang out with your friends some more. And I'm like, well, my friends don't live here. I'm not giving Bumbo this money. So I feel for you. If you... I understand, by the way, why Robert is not a big fan of the suburbs. He always talks about, like... I mean, he takes it a step too far, where he's like, you know, I would rather die than live in the suburbs. I think the suburbs are, like, an awesome place to live if you're raising kids. You know, if you're like a 35-year-old to 50-year-old adult, why wouldn't you like the suburbs? You know, you get a lawn, reasonably priced, you're living next to people with the same demographic. Ooh, this is... I mean, I still want to reroll to become Guppy, but this is some good stuff. But, and it's relatively safe, I guess, although... I don't know, in our suburbs, like... There's a weird, like, gangster culture, but it was, like, redneck gangster. It's... I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Like, redneck gangster is an archetype, but... Like, have you ever seen Riff Raff? Anyway, the point is... Still, I can understand. Like, my parents, the suburbs was the right choice. For a 15-year-old child, I was more like, I'm just sitting in my room, listening to the Arcade Fire a lot. Once I got my own license, things changed. So I gotta give it to 12th grade. I don't know, then after that, 9th grade is... You only get a couple of experiences in your entire life that are like 9th grade, right? What I mean by that is very simple. You know, it's a resetting of the social order. We actually, just keep in mind, we don't want Judas' shadow, because we want to win as Lazarus here. That's the only reason I'm not taking that. Sure, not relevant, but we'll take Lemon Party with us. You know, you leave 8th grade, and I don't know about you guys, maybe different schools had different setups, but for us, we went from like a really small elementary school, so small that we didn't even have a middle school, we just had, you know, kindergarten to 8th grade in the same place. And then we went to a school that was like a feeder high school for 4 or 5 different public schools. So not only was it a complete resetting of the social order, it was also like, you know, the first day in prison. You're meeting 1 out of every, you know, 2 people that you meet is somebody you've never seen before in your entire life. And you're like, I don't know who was cool at their public school. You know, even the first day of college is not necessarily like the same as the first day in 9th grade, because, you know, in 9th grade, you're going to be stuck with this social group for like the next 4 years. You don't get too many other moments like that. So it's exciting, simultaneously also a little terrifying. If you're watching this in 8th grade, why? Go, like, help yourself. Go watch Ninja. I don't know. Go watch another streamer or YouTuber that is a little bit more popular with a younger demographic, you know, so you can have something to talk about with your classmates. I'm trying to save you from the indignity I did to myself. There's the Guppy transformation. Those of you watching this later, though, understand. 10th and 11th grade, kind of just, you know, for me at least, they're all the same. It was like, those are the 2 middle years. 9th grade, you're on your way in. 12th grade, you're applying for whatever you're going to do after school, be it, you know, college, university, etc., etc. 10th and 11th grade are like, hey, don't, like, screw up too bad. As long as you don't screw up too bad, you know, we'll keep you around here. Don't be the turd burglar. 16 minutes. Have we done boss rush? Yes. It could be a delirium run. I don't want to promise anything yet, obviously. Magic mush, please. Okay. Guppy transformation means we basically win. So it's up to us to do whatever we want. I'm trying to figure out, like, now I have to go way, way back. If I want to imagine, like, how did I feel about each year in elementary school? 7th and 8th grade were awesome because you're like the king of the castle. You know, you're the oldest kids in the entire school. Kindergarten seemed cool. I don't remember too much of it. I remember we used to have a water table. You'd go there and fill it up with water, and then you'd, like, move the water around. And everybody went friggin' nuts over the water table. Whenever it was playtime, it would be like, oh, whoever was best behaved gets to pick the table they go to first. So do they want to, like, you know, do they get to do arts and crafts or what? Everyone was like, give me that water table. Of course, as you get older, the water table means something much more different and boring. Figured we'd go for it. Dude, Mom's Knife and Maw of the Void. This is a strange combination. Do I like it? Yes and no. Sneeze. Capricorn. You don't know my friend, Sneeze Capricorn? I think I might stick with this run. It's a little samey. Would you rather we do our 1500th Tech X run? Maybe. I'm not gonna front, by the way. I was also a fan of the water table. That was like the #1 choice. Why would I not take the water table given the opportunity? It's fine. It's so weird. I feel for parents. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you can illuminate this for me. There's like an innate tragedy to human life that like some of the most special moments of your life is raising a child, probably, if that's... I mean, I don't think you need to raise a child to have like a meaningful life. And if you at any point had thought that I ever believed that, you got me pegged for the completely wrong demographic. Dude, give me this so we can get out of boss rush. That's fantastic news. But either way, the most, like, some of the most special moments of, like, your mom and dad's life, you're not going to be able to remember at all. Your brain just literally can't handle. Like, there's always going to be that little separation, you know? Oh, dude. We're definitely going to stick with this run for now. It's not really, like, tragic, but it's tragic in the same way that, like, you know, those Reddit threads where it's like, you know, shower thoughts. Oh, one day your parents picked you up for the last time, you know? And you go, oh, that's sad. Well, it's not really sad. It's melancholy, perhaps, but sad wouldn't be the word I would use. What would be sad is if you were 35 years old and your parents were still picking you up and carrying you everywhere like a little baby. That would be sad. That would be the kind of thing where you'd be like, I pity... And I'm, okay, let's just avoid the gaslighting here. If you have an obvious, like, you know, some physical ailment that requires you to be carried, then it's, I mean, it's still sad, but it's sad in, like, a noble way. I'm talking about, I'm picturing, like, Danny DeVito being carried by his parents up the stairs. Okay? Don't take me out of context here. I've already got the ageist thing working against me. I took the freaking Polaroid. Alright, alright. What that means is, and it's okay, but we're gonna have to do Delirium. And that, we're gonna win. It's good. It's actually good, okay? Like, I mean, I would have loved to have had the opportunity to not be an idiot and make that terrible mistake, but it's okay, because they're mutually exclusive for the most part, Delirium and the Dark Room. So, as long as we knock out Delirium this time, it's as productive as a run would have been, you know, on paper at least. Definitely do not... Well, maybe we do want that for speed. We don't want to reroll our run anymore. It already did wonders for us. It's a 0.05 speed upgrade. So we'll fight Hush, and then we'll fight Delirium. And probably everything else on that floor. If we have to die 9 times, I'm going to be mad, though. So here's my thinking. Lose 1 red heart. Come in here. Was basically not even close to being worth it. This run should be capable of doing the gauntlet. It's bad odds there. We didn't get the... Or it was good odds, but a bad roll. We didn't get to deal with the devil, unfortunately. Ipecac should be a damage boost. Yeah, 4 damage. Not great, but not terrible. This will be Bookworm. So I'm willing to take a stand there. I'm just going to donate as much as we can. You know what? Like this. Good, good. Not a huge bonus, but it's something. I have V-Bag, obviously, like, not worth taking. The Devil, pretty good for coming into this boss fight. And we got 3 more cents. We'll just dump him in here. Yeah, I can live with that. Alright. But it's true, you know. Sorry, I got a little distracted there while I was handling my business on those last 2 floors. But, you know, my parents... I guess maybe you pay it forward if you choose to have a child later. Then you're like, okay, now I have these memories that my child can't share. But maybe that's what makes it more special anyway. I don't know. When's your first memory from? My first memory is like from when I was 3 or 4. This is pretty crazy. Like, people invest in your life before you even know what's happening. Like, this is gonna sound rude, but I don't mean it in the worst possible construction of this sentence or interpretation of this sentence. Before you are like 4 or 5 years old, you're basically like a human plant. Like, you need to be cared for, you need to be watered, you need to be fed, and you need to be monitored to make sure, like, the pets don't eat you. Gross. Anyway. But it's true. It is true. After that, you become like, you know, you become like a tree for a little while. You know, you're still, you mostly handle your own business, and sometimes you produce fruits that the whole family can enjoy. Like, maybe you say a funny joke at the dinner table when you're 7, and the whole family goes, ah, ha, 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 you know? Now you're doing something. But before that, you're basically like a houseplant. I was a houseplant. I'm just over it now. I got better. That's why I think kids are weird, man. Like, it's... Maybe it's... I want to preface this, I guess, by saying I don't think the world is more dangerous than it's ever been. And I think if you hold that belief, I want to ask you, for one, how much network news you watch, and for two, what your knowledge of, like, you know, even recent human history is like. I kind of hate it, but we got two pentagrams. Okay, well, strange at the very least. But it is always incredible to me to think of, like, the fact that people were having babies, like, 400,000 years ago. That number, don't quote me on that. It's like the Neolithic Revolution was 10,000 years ago, but how long have Homo sapiens existed? I thought it was, like, 100,000 years. And, like, humanoids before that, obviously. But anyway, that people would just be like, oh, I'm pregnant. 9 months later, they're like, I gave birth to, like, a warrior. That's amazing. You didn't have, like, doctors or anything? I mean, I guess that's probably a little ignorant. You had, like, doctors. Not in the same way. Probably not with the same level of expertise as a current doctor, but still. Like, that's incredible, man. How did you do it back then? I guess the answer is that, like, you just did it, and then, like, a lot of them died. Not delirium. Still, you don't find that amazing? Nowadays, what happens when you have a baby? You go to, like... I mean, it's better this way. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's good that people are more... they have the opportunity, would be a good way to describe it, I guess, to be more aware of what it takes to be a good parent, you know? And to prepare themselves for the situations that may arise. But now you're like, oh, we're pregnant. Okay, we're gonna, like, go to this class. We're gonna read all these books. Back then it was like, I don't know, ask the oldest woman in the village. You'd be like, hey, what's this like? And then she would tell you her wisdom. And it would probably be, it's wiser than the wisdom I got. But at the same time, she's just one lady, you know? She's not Dr. Spock. I was gonna say Dr. Ruth, and that is the different doctor. You don't want to get your doctors confused. Dr. Spock, Star Trek / also wrote the definitive big book on childbirth. Dr. Ruth, marriage therapist, to put it in a Google DeepMind friendly term. Dr. Kevorkian, you don't want to show up at his office accidentally. He was a euthanasia enabler. What's weird is that sentence sounds like it has judgment associated with it, but it doesn't. It's just... By putting a neutral, it sounded a little weird. This is like aggressively neutral. Anyway. You don't want to go to the wrong doctor's office. Don't want to go to a urologist when you meant to see a gastroenterologist. I mean, I don't know how that would happen in the first place. If you could choose to be any kind of doctor, what doctor would you be? I think this is a great question. It's great enough that I've had it, like... I've had this conversation probably like 20 times with 20 different groups of people. I think every kind of doctor has their own pluses and minuses, right? what is general practitioner? You know, a GP, family doctor, whatever you want to call them. What's the benefit? I mean, you're not dealing with people who have been shot and made, you know, in all likelihood, you're not going to, like, lose a patient during your appointment. So I imagine, like, in terms of, like, stress and mental anguish, there's a little bit less, although still, you know, I'm sure you feel for your patients. Nobody wants to have to tell a patient, hey, you know, based on your symptoms, I'm pretty sure you've got ligma. But what are the downsides of being a GP? Long hours. I don't think family doctors have it easy necessarily. And, I don't know, at least here, they tend to be, it's not a bad living, obviously. Like, it's still a very prized profession. But, make a little bit less money relative to specialists, right? So then you start talking about some of the other specialists. You know, a podiatrist doesn't seem so bad. Proctologist? Urologist? I had testicular surgery when I was 16. I had to get it done on a Tuesday because my urologist worked 1 day a week. Now, that sounds like a sick gig. This ended up being a fine run, by the way. Compound fracture, I'm happy to see it, but, you know, at the same time, he did also have to operate on my scrotum. To put it as medically as possible. Now, that's something you don't want to do. I guess you don't want to be a urologist. At the same time, he worked 4 days a month, and he drove a Mercedes, so he was doing okay for himself. I don't know. What kind of doctor would you want to be? Whichever one you have passion for. Get out of here, you freaking Florence Nightingale. We're talking about money. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. In spite of my mistake, we did make some progress. Subscribe if you want to see more in the future. Click the like button if you enjoyed it. And, of course, follow my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Northernlion, to be notified of when I go live for that live content you may or may not be missing out on. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!